about
That I
now?
heard a little. It's just lower than usual. I'll focus. No worries.
Yeah, because if I turn it up all the way up, you're like too loud, so I don't know what to do.
Dark over here, but that's too much light. There we go.
Can you hear me though or no?
A little, yeah. I guess got a strain.
What?
How are you?
I don't like that.
Been a while.
I know you've been traveling, and I didn't get to meet up with you, and I, I regret that. But it was one of those things.
I um I did something I never thought I'd say this. I flew into Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh,
So this is a cool story for the golfers out there. My son Zach is in the golf world. It's his whole life. He's a professional caddy up in Colorado in the summer, Florida in the winter. So he was transitioning, and I was had to be in Orlando for a day. I see that, and look at me with my blue again.
oh, there you go.
Now, but he was on his way to Florida, and he told me about this thing called the Robert Trent Jones Trail. So Robert Trent Jones is a famous golf course architect, and lots of Trent Jones courses out there. So Alabama, back I think in the '90s, took a chunk of money from the Alabama Employees Pension Fund and reinvested it into the state for tourism. And they built 26 of these Robert Trent Jones golf courses all around the state. 11 different properties, 26 golf courses. It's called the Robert Trent Jones Trail. And so we decided to do that. It's been a dream to have a golf trip with my son on a regular basis. This is the first real one. So he had already gotten down to Florida, moved into his place, and drove back up to Montgomery and picked me up. We had a cute little Airbnb for 3 nights, beautiful little cottage, meticulously decorated. And he picked me up. This is on a Monday night 2 weeks ago at this little regional airport. Had said he'd already been to the Airbnb. He says, it's nice. So we got up there and checked in, and we walked downtown and bought some Thai food the first night, walked back. And this
Oh,
is games 3, 4, and 5 of the World Series were on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. So we got back and watched some baseball and went and played golf the next day. It's funny. We had a reservation for 10:30 tee time. It's about 4 hours. It was 2:40, 2:30, 2:45. We're done. I'm thinking, all right, we're done. Like, let's go do something. And he said, let's go back into the pro shop and see what a replay round costs, because they'll send you back out again discounted because you already paid the big rate. So here we are teeing off again at 3:15 for another 18 holes. I mean,
oh,
it was a lot of fun. I actually physically felt better the more we went. Like after 36 holes, I felt great. And we picked up some more food that night and watched the World Series. We did 36 the next day, and then we did 18 the third day because we had to drive down to the Panama City and spend the night there on our way to Orlando. But it was a lot of fun, dream come true, golf trip, and it was a great time.
so your son picked you up.
Yeah, so he drove from Colorado down to Florida. He drove back up in his car and picked me up in Montgomery.
See, my son Eric just moved back to Florida, so he's living with us now. But he doesn't pick me up anymore because he says I put on too much weight.
Oh my goodness,
So you
that
said
was a fun trip.
they have how many courses there?
Well, the property we were at was called Capitol Hill, and there were 3 courses there, just outside of Montgomery.
Uh,
But there are 26 courses total around the state.
so with 26 courses, you might have a chance for one. What's it called? The whole one hole in one.
Hole in one. Let me promise you, I've played way more than 26 rounds of golf, and I've never been close to a hole in one. So
Oh,
it's funny. We talked about some social media last couple times, and I've been trying to just post a little bit more on Facebook and just get some positive stuff out there. So there was a video he took of me teeing off on a par 3, and the sun is setting behind me, and it was just gorgeous. And Facebook makes this easy. I get this thing that comes up and says, do you want to create a reel? And I just click on yes. And then I scroll through, pick a video, the music's set to it. I throw some text on it and I hit send. And next thing is the reel is posted. And I get somebody calling me saying, how'd you do that reel? But it was on a par 3, and you see the swing and the sunset in the background, and the music is playing. And the text said, "We miss 100% of the shots we don't take." I thought it was a nice appropriate for a golf swing. And then a couple of people commented on it, and it was almost as if they were thinking it was a hole in one. And I'm like, let me be very clear. This was not a hole in one. And then I got a Facebook message from someone who I guess were friends. I don't know. And I get leery of like the scams and the reach outs and etc. But this woman was saying, "Are you a golf instructor?" Absolutely not. That would be false advertising. But
Wow.
Zach is an amazing, I mean, he's a great player, but he can also, I think, one of his talents is to look at someone's swing and just know what's needed, So he was able to really help me. And I was also really able to listen. There's a lot of ego in that, right? But
Yeah.
over those 3 days, I saw my golf game getting progressively better. It was pretty neat. And it was fun.
That's cool.
I definitely determined that I would like golf to be a part of my life somehow moving forward in terms of recreational activity.
Yeah.
That was good.
Very cool.
We were that second replay round. It was funny. We went about 3, so we got to the back 9, and it's probably 5:30. So it's dusk, and the deer are coming out. I mean, we just drove down we went down this long. It felt like a roller coaster. It was a huge ramp bridge they built for the carts to get down to this big long, and you make this hairpin turn, and the tee box is right there, and there are 4 deer standing on the tee box.
Wow.
And of course, they're pretty civilized and they're used to seeing people, so they don't freak out. And we don't get too close, and they run up the hill and stuff. And I hit down into the fairway, and there's a chunk of woods to the right. As we get over there are 6 deer just coming out of the woods, walking around. It's really beautiful to see it. It was fun. It was fun.
So lately, on my computer, there's always a thing, how things pop up and everything. There's a golf joke of the day. There's always one.
George, what?
A golf joke of the day.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Golf joke of the day.
The one today was really good, but I can't, this is
Interesting.
a family show, so I can't really tell you that one was funny as heck, though. Wow.
I hope you can still see me because I am going into my, here we go. There I am. I went into my audio settings to see if I can increase your volume on my side. I think I did.
Wow.
Oh, better.
Better.
I guess it was my fault after all.
So now,
hey, can you talk louder? Can you do something on your end? Oh, no, it's my fault.
when I put it really loud, the neighbors were knocking on the door saying, "What the heck's going on over there?"
And you said, "It's a no hissy fit zone, sir. Please, you have to leave."
Please. So we haven't talked in a while. So we're talking about baseball, and I know that I'm in Tampa Bay, so of course I want the Rays to win the whole thing. You're in New England, so you probably want the Red Sox to win. But who won?
So, drum roll, the Texas Rangers are the 2023 World Series champions. This is the coolest thing about baseball. Tampa Bay owned the league for the first 3 quarters of the season, and everyone's like, man, they're unstoppable. Didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
3 teams won 100 games during the season, which is not easy to do. The Braves, the Dodgers, and the Baltimore Orioles, all 3 of them were knocked out of the playoffs early on. Talk about underdogs. My God, Arizona Diamondbacks made the World Series against the Texas Rangers. Houston got knocked out. The Phillies got knocked out. It was incredible. So it was fun to watch it because there was these 2 underdogs in it. And then, of course, the Arizona Diamondbacks were the real underdog, given the 2 of them. But I would imagine at the beginning of the season, it was well less than 5% odds that either of those teams would have won the World Series. So it was exciting.
The Texas Rangers sounds more like a TV show than a baseball team.
I think there might have been a TV show. Hold on, what was that Chuck Norris show? Texas Walker, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Outstanding. Of course, there's a lot of big stuff happening off season. There's some big free agents, and it'll be an interesting off season to pay attention. But I'm already ready for April.
So you ended up getting to Orlando, right? You were here in Florida.
Yeah, so it's funny. I always wanted to see the Panhandle, and we talked about this because I knew Panama City. You mentioned a really cool place,
Yeah.
and so Thursday we woke up. It was after 3 nights in that Airbnb. We checked out of that, but then went to the golf course for one last round. This is cool. The property we're on was called Capitol Hill, and the 3 golf courses there were the judge, the senator, and the legislator, and all very different courses. It was fun. But we finished about 3 that afternoon and then drove down to Panama City. It was about 3.5 hours. And so here I am thinking I want to see Panama, the Panhandle. I want to take Zach out to a nice restaurant. So, you know, those condo towers on the beaches, our Airbnb was one room in one of those. And we got there at 6:30 or 7 that night. It was dark. And so we got checked in and got settled. And we were kind of beat and said, let's not go to dinner. We went to Publix and just picked up some heat up food and went back to the condo and heated up some food and threw on a movie and fell asleep. And we were out the next morning by 9:30 headed for Orlando. So I didn't see the Panhandle at all.
Oh, wow.
What I didn't expect, though, because I knew there was going to be about a 6-hour ride, 360 miles from Panama City down to Orlando. And I had to be there for 7 o'clock that night. So I got plenty of time. But that Panhandle of Florida, west of Tallahassee, is Central Time Zone. So we had to add an hour to our trip. And I'm like, wow. And we got down. He wanted to stop at the PGA Superstore, which is a golf. So imagine a Walmart and then double the size of the Walmart, and it's nothing but golf. And there are several of these PGA stores around the country, but Orlando's got one of the best. And so we stopped in there, and he was looking at some new clubs and hitting some clubs, and traffic was insane. Long story short, he gets me down to my hotel. I was staying at the Omni Resort at Champions Gate or something like that. I got in, and there was a 7 o'clock welcome cocktail reception, etc. And I said goodbye to him. I got into my room. I changed my shirt. I looked at the clock. It was 6:57. I walked downstairs for 7 o'clock. It was perfect. But that was like no stopping from Panama City, no lunch. We just stopped for gas and food on the way, and it was fun. And then it was a one-day event, all day Saturday, a little party Saturday night, and I flew home Sunday, which was cool because I flew out of Orlando, and JetBlue, I love it, JetBlue Orlando to Worcester nonstop. Amazing. So Lynn had to leave the house with like 8 minutes to spare to come pick me up, and I love that. Love that Worcester connection. So, yeah.
Watching the thing the other day, because you talk about hotels and stuff. Bill Burr, you know Bill Burr, the comic comedian.
Love him.
One of my favorites. So he's outside of his room or whatever. It's like, and he's smoking a cigar. So this guy shows up and says, "Hey, you can't smoke those around here." And then right after he said that, he was like vaping, so he had all this big smoke thing coming out of his, thing. So he says, "Oh, what are you doing? You're smoking." He says, "Well, this is vapor." He says, "Well," so now they're like arguing. And the guy says, "Well, you can't smoke here." So then he says to Bill, "So what's your problem?" He says, "My problem is that people like you, where you're sitting over there smoking, you tell me I can't smoke." He says, "Well, I'm not smoking, I'm vaping, but by the way, this is my hotel, so that's why I can." He says, "Well, it's a motel, sir." And the guy looks confused. Says, "If it was a hotel, it'd be a lobby that you go through, but there's no lobby. This is a motel, not a hotel. So leave me alone." And he puffs on a cigar some more. I don't know if it was a real thing. It's just a little skit that they were doing together. It was fun though.
I haven't heard that one. That's funny. He is funny. I enjoy him. I was watching some just the YouTube rabbit hole, but I was clicking on Jim Gaffigan the other day, and he's very funny also.
He is funny.
But I've been on a huge kick of Nate Bargatze. Do you know Nate?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, is he funny? He's gotten to a place now in his notoriety that he just has to say a sentence to start a story with a straight face, and it's funny, and you laugh. And I thought to myself, there's nothing funny about what he just said, except that it's the fact that he's saying it, and that's funny. That's incredible to get to there, because then he backs it up with some really clever stuff.
So a few months ago, I was at T-Mobile because Terry was on T-Mobile, I was on a different thing, and then we went together and get new phones and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was there for a while talking to people. So I was, how I am with the jokes and my pride and joy and all that shit. So anyway, I showed it to one guy because he was the manager there, and he thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And then he says, "Man,
Which one? What'd you show him? Which one?
Pride and Joy."
Oh,
I said, I just got a call from corporate, and I'm supposed to show you a picture of my Pride and Joy. He says, "Huh?" I showed it to him, and he just laughed like crazy. But then we gave him few jokes, and he had a couple of jokes, and we said at the time. And then one of the guys says, "Do you know Ron?" I says, "No, Ron, but it's Rahn is how his name is pronounced."
Ron. Yeah.
Yeah. He says, "Well, he's a comedian." I says, "Oh, he is." So I looked him up, and he gets from with his group that he's with, and he flies out of town, and there's like 4 or 5 comedians that go to different shows for the whole weekend or whatever, and he's one of them. He's really funny.
I think you told me about this guy before. I recognize that name, Rahn. That's his last name or first?
First,
What's his last name? I wrote this down once.
I think it's Hortman. I can't think of it right now, but
Well, how many Rons are there? Rahn. I'm going to look that guy up because I remember you told me about this guy before, and you really raved about him.
yeah, he's funny.
Look at that.
So one time he was playing at a brewery over there in Palm Harbor. I went there.
Silver King?
Huh?
Silver King Brewing Company?
No, it was a different place. But there was like not too many people there when he started. So he came out and goes, "Well, I guess I hit the big time, man. I've never performed for a small crowd like this." But he's almost like being a little bit negative, right?
Yeah.
It's not the people's fault, whatever.
Yeah.
So then after a while, he realizes, "Sir," he goes, "people, I shouldn't be. It's not your fault that there's not a lot of people here. It's my fault. I didn't bring it up." So then he starts just talking to people, like having a conversation with people, and he was really funny. So then when he was
Really?
I just said, "What you did was awesome because at the beginning you're not liking the fact it was a small crowd, but then the way you were talking to the people and being funny about it, that's not everybody can do that. That's a special
Yeah.
a special skill." He says, "Oh, thank you very much." "No, I'm serious, man." He says, "Yeah, I watched your stuff on YouTube. You're really funny." He says, "Yeah, I'm funny because of my looks, but you're funny because of your jokes." So
It's funny that any performer who's in front of an audience, and I've never been called a performer, but I speak on stage in front of audiences. And I remember years ago coming to terms with, I was actually having a conversation with a coach around this, and I was referencing like getting in front of a group that I think is too small. And I realized before it was happening that what would my attitude be if that were the case? Like, what am I bringing to my message if now I'm disappointed in the audience? Because these are events that I'm not involved with trying to build the audience. I'm just showing up. And I became aware of it. And it was a powerful lesson because we got talking about that. Because I got to be at my best, and being disappointed is nowhere near my best in terms of bringing a message of value to these people. And so I had determined through that process that every audience for any performer is the perfect audience. Like who's ever supposed to be there is there. And I take that, it's a step of faith, but I take that on, and then I can be me and deliver my message. If it's 3 or if it's 300 or 3,000, it doesn't matter because it's the perfect audience. And it's a powerful lesson. It was for me. I'm hoping it's giving some value out there to somebody. But performers are the same. This guy who's a solo acoustic guy, it's like, man, you got to bring it. Who you are as the paying customer trying to enjoy it. And already hearing him talk about is how there's not enough of you. Like, that's not all right. I'm already here.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
That's a good attitude right there.
We are, we meaning the Nate Ramos band. Oh my goodness. So next Thursday night, we're playing at this club in Boston, right near Fenway, Lansdowne Street. It's a country-themed club bar called Loretta's Last Call. Beautiful spot. Holds a lot of people. Again, talking about audiences, because the last time we were there wasn't that many people. And then we're playing the next night, Friday night, at a new place in Medford called The Porch, which is this Southern fare but we're playing earlier, 6 to 8:30. And then the following Wednesday, we're playing, which is Thanksgiving Eve, right here in Worcester, at a really cool club called Off the Rails. It's right behind the DCU Center, and we're playing with another country band. And this is Thanksgiving Eve, so I'm sure it'll be packed. It's a big party night. But I look at my calendar, and I'm like, I got 3 gigs in 6 nights with these guys. I'm like, this is, and we have like 22 dates booked through 2024, through next year.
Wow.
Already on the calendar. So it's fun, and it's kind of starting to get going. We're going into the studio to record an album of Nate's. We're doing 10 of his originals as a band, and that's happening on January 15th. We're going to a studio, so it's kind of exciting.
So when you're doing the bass drum with your foot,
I am
in the cowboy boots.
I am hitting the bass drum with my foot. My foot's usually in a sneaker because I don't have any cowboy boots.
Well, you got to go for it.
Back in the day, you and I used to hang around in business with quite a few Southerners who wore cowboy boots, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
With suits and ties and cowboy boots. And I'm like, that's a different look. And I kind of liked it but you kind of tend to, your life becomes who you hang around with. And we hung around with a lot of them. And I was like, maybe I need a pair of boots. And I never bought any, but had I'd have them out again right now.
So I had a couple downline from me, and they're in New Hampshire, and I went to go do a presentation at their house.
New Hampshire, okay.
So when I got up there, in front of the house, there was like about 20 Harleys. I said, "Ooh, this ought to be interesting,"
Yeah.
I go in, and they're all really, really funny people, and in real, friendly people. So, of course, I had to have a couple of jokes in the beginning just to kind of establish who's in charge here.
Yeah, right.
But I'm
assuming you got a white shirt on and a red tie and a gray or blue blazer suit.
Well, that's what happened. Just one guy says, "So far everything you said is really cool, but why are you wearing the tie?" I says, "Well, that was just to fake you guys out." And I grabbed the tie and I throw it out and I threw it at him. I said, "There, is that better?" And I opened up 2 buttons. I says, "Okay, there we go. Now you gonna listen to me more?" And they were laughing like crazy.
And now we like you even more. That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, each of us who are out there doing that could write a book of all the funny stories.
Oh, it's amazing, yeah. Wow.
What a riot.
So about football now, the Buccaneers were first in the division, but now they're not. They're like 4th because they lost 3 games in a row.
Oh, boy.
And the Patriots aren't doing so great either.
Yeah, this I really haven't followed. I was out for some chicken wings a few weeks ago with I got to call Sean, my buddy. That's all. He's just my friend. This is Lynn's son. And I went down to Connecticut to visit him. And this is actually just before the Alabama trip. This was that Sunday before, 29th. I don't know who they play, but we got to this little dive bar, and it was a Patriots audience. All the seats were taken. It was such an interesting mix of people because it was a lot of different looking folks from this community. And we had some food and some beer, and I think they were 21-0 at the half, and the Patriots were losing, and it got even worse. And I heard then they beat somebody, but they're having a tough season.
So I don't know if I think I left you a message. When I was trying to find you your tickets for the Betancourt Turkey Jam.
I haven't even brought that up yet to give you some big thanks, but continue, sure.
So initially I called George, because George and I are really tight. He didn't answer right away, so then I reached out to Paulo. And then
who knows me? So that might have okay, cool.
Yeah, so then that's what I was going to tell you because George set it up. He called Louis, and Louis had, even though they were sold out, Louis had saved some tickets for that kind of reason, right? So you're on the list.
Just for idiots like me.
Yeah. So then Paulo got back to me and says, "Hey man, about the tickets, I'm going to see if Dr. Louis see what." I said, "Well, George already did." He goes, "Yeah, man, I know Michael Copperwhite. That'd be awesome. I can't wait to see him." So he knows you.
That's sweet.
Huh?
He's a good dude. Nice.
Yeah, they're all are.
Yeah. And George and I know each other, but just by face. I don't think he knows my name, but Paul does. I always said Paulo, and every time I say Paulo, you laugh because you know him as Paul. But That's funny.
So
Remember, I told you I met him on a work appointment, and so I got this app on my phone that tells me where I'm going next, and I call the day before and confirm. But how many Paula Betancourts are there? So this is in Marlboro, and so I pulled in front of the house, and I'm walking down the driveway, and he's walking out, and he goes, "I know you." And I said, "Yeah," and I explained how with the old days and the turkey jams and Tony, my good buddy, and then, you know, I left his house a couple hours later, and he had a still face CD, and I connected back. He says it sounded great. We're just having some fun, and I haven't seen him in a bit, so it'd be nice to catch up. But man, they did that. I would give everything I owned. That song by Bread, and Paulo sang lead on it. Oh my God!
yeah, I saw that video.
So here's the deal, and this is why I want to thank you, because this is the Friday night of Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
And so last year, Lynn and I went to a bunch of concerts, including Ringo Starr, including Paul McCartney at Fenway Park. And that turkey jam with the Betancourt brothers was her favorite show of the year.
Yeah.
So this comes up again. She's like, "Oh my God, we're going to go." And I sat on it for a month to go get tickets. I'm like, so I go get the tickets and it's sold out. And I'm like, oh God. That's when I called you. So thanks to you, you saved my future marriage over here.
It's my pleasure. And you know what? You guys have to remember, like, if it wasn't for those guys being my friends, you probably would never get that. So see, it's all about me now.
That's what I was getting at. You took the words right out of my mouth. But I think what was most incredible for us last year, and her also, was just the diversity of the set list.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was amazing.
So what am I gonna say? Yeah, it's just as Dr. George, introducing the you get.
Oh, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure I catch both those guys if I can and thank them. But when I catch up with George, I'm going to pull my phone out and show him a picture of that band you sent me.
And make sure that you tell George, I'm the guy that does a podcast with Tony. Have you been watching it?
Which episode are you on?
That's funny. Wow.
I didn't recognize him from the deep freeze photo shoot you sent me.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's awesome. What year was that? That's got to be 70.
76, maybe 77.
So funny.
That crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, so thank you for that. That's good. That's in 2 weeks. It's less than 2 weeks.
So one of my friends is a really good blues guy. He's a good guitar player, a good blues guy. And I went to see his band a couple of times, but they live in a mobile home park, whatever, and they have a clubhouse there. So they play there. So they did a Halloween party. Everybody had to wear the outfits, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's such a great show, man. And
that's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun. There's a band. I was watching a YouTube video, and it was like best something albums. I forget the genre, but it was like, it wasn't psychedelic rock. It wasn't post rock, because post rock, my understanding, like Stillface is an instrumental band, no vocals. I think that's post rock. But I just came across, and I was writing down bands. Well, that's it. I would go to iTunes on my phone and download an album as I'm watching this video. Queens of the Stone Age was on there. That one album that Dave Grohl drummed on. And
yeah.
I came across a couple of other bands I listened to the next day. I'm like, not killing me. And then this other band shows up called King Buffalo. Oh my God, it's like my new favorite band. These guys are unreal. So wow. I get a couple CDs. I send it over to the guys in Stillface. They're loving it. And then I think, let me just do a search. And they're touring coming up here in a couple of weeks locally, Providence and Connecticut. And I think I'm going to go see them on a Friday night down in Connecticut, and little club, and take it in. Pretty cool.
So that the Halloween party thing that I went to, everybody's supposed to wear an outfit, but I didn't have. So that baseball cap I have with the two bills that says,
"I'm their leader."
I'm the leader. Which way do they go? Right? So that's what I won, right? I mean, that's what I wore. So people, they come over to see what that says. So it says, well, it says I'm their leader, and I'm trying to figure out which way they go, right? Everybody laughed about that, and a lot of people said, "Oh, hold on, can I get a picture of that?" Because I had probably had 7 or 8 people want to take a picture of it because they never saw anything like that. It was fun. Wow. What's going on today?
Today, my beautiful daughter Jenna and her lovely husband Trevor are coming down from New Hampshire. So I have been hanging on to every piece of paperwork that she ever had going back to kindergarten. And I've got boxes of stuffed animals. And I used to teach her saying, my garage is full of your stuff. And it's not a problem, except now they have a house with a big basement. And I'm like, guess what? It's time. It's time. And so I've actually, a while ago, I put a sheet. I got this big garage. I've never had a car in it. So I put a big sheet down on the floor and I started to pile all of her stuff onto the sheet just to keep it. And it's a lot, but it's not nearly the whole garage. And but they're coming down at about 11 for that. And he's got a big pickup truck. I also have a big chest freezer from the old days in the food business that I'm trying to get rid of. And she's like, we've been looking for a freezer. So they're coming down at 11. We're going to load up all the stuff off the sheet of her stuff and the freezer. And I'm not sure they're going to hang around for breakfast or brunch or something or not, or maybe just head right back to New Hampshire, about an hour, 45 minutes from here. So that's happening. But then that allows me to kind of start to organize the garage a little bit better because I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff. And we're moving a lot of outdoor things off the patio and decorative things outside, moving them into the garage for the season because it was 32 degrees this morning. Gorgeous sun into the 50s later, but winter's coming. So
my lovely wife Terry always says things like from kindergarten and the kids because she has a bunch of stuff. And now Eric just moved over. I told you Eric just moved back here and he's living with us. And he has a bunch of equipment, the photography stuff that he does.
Yeah.
And so behind this separated thing is totally loaded. I mean, I didn't think I was going to have enough room to do the podcast with this thing. All kinds of stuff, man. It's amazing.
Is it nice having him home with you?
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He really is.
And what's his day to day? Like, is he working there? Is he looking for something, or how's he handle his day?
Well, he got started on investing in real estate. So he's buying a couple of houses here and there and stuff, and then he has
nice.
He has a lot of connections here, so he's going to be doing he's still going to be doing the photography. But he's also a producer of a successful podcast in California. He was the one who would film it and he produced it and stuff. But now it's also still produces it, but he's not here. He's not there. He's here.
Right.
So they take the videos. Somebody films it, or just cameras set up, and then they upload it into some kind of website or something. He takes it down and produces and stuff. He's just a real smart guy. Sometimes,
yeah, I can imagine it's very fun to have him.
Sometimes I say to him, Eric, you're really, really smart. You know something? To be honest with you, I'm not going to do with your mother. It's all because of me. He says, "Oh no, man, it's from both of you." I says, "No."
Your looks, they might have come from your mother. Your smarts, they came from me.
I don't know. Did you have a chance to watch that podcast that he was on?
No, and you just reminded me of that because I want to make sure I still have that in my text thread because I meant to do that day. It's funny how things slip away, right? Because you sent that to me. Was that a text? There's deep freeze. I love that deep freeze, baby.
I think it was maybe a text or email.
I think you must have emailed it because I don't see it in the text thread.
Well, you know what's going to happen because you as a motivational speaker, if you watch that and you listen to some of the stuff, you can tell that he could get on a stage and be one of those motivational speakers. He's just a smart guy. Yeah, both of my kids are really smart.
I love it.
Both of them is because of me.
Some things don't need to be said.
Ouch. They need to be said at least 2 or 3 times, though. I already did it two times. I just got to do one more time before we go.
Oh man! So I know I'm looking at the time here. So book-wise, I love to read. Period. But I really love to read. If I'm flying and I'm by myself, I just look forward to the reading part. So I started 2 new books on that first flight, Boston and so you can't get to Montgomery, Alabama from almost anywhere. So Boston, I flew to Washington D.C. and then I had like a 3-hour layover in Washington D.C. But I love it. I don't care. I got my laptop with me. I've got 2 books, one fiction, one nonfiction. and restaurant in the place and the whole deal. So one of the books I started, we actually referenced this guy, Andy Andrews.
Oh yeah.
Andy Andrews. He's got a podcast. We talked about that called, I think it's called The Noticer. He's read a lot of books. He's written a lot of books. He's probably read a few also. But this is a book called The Traveler's Gift. And wow, it says 7 decisions that determine personal success. So the cool thing about this is I was listening to one of his podcasts. He's got a guest on there, and the guest starts talking about this book. And he's like, I didn't know that you knew about the book, let alone read it. And you're going to bring it up here. This is not about self-promoting me. And the guy's like, no, this book saved my life. And he goes on, and I'm like, why do I recognize the name of this book? And I had moved a lot of books from the garage in boxes into my living room. And this was in my bookshelf.
Wow.
But it gets even funnier because there was a bookmark in this book, which I'm using because that's where I am. And it's a boarding pass, and it's old and brown, and it's my dear friend Pat, and this is her boarding pass, and she gave me this book.
Wow.
Which makes it even more special. But there's a cool story. 7 decisions, but it's done like in a novel form. And I was literally 2 chapters in, and I thought of 3 or 4 different people in my life I need to buy this book for and give it to them as a gift. It's that good.
What's the title of it?
It's called The Traveler's Gift.
Traveler's Gift. Wow.
By Andy Andrews. And it's just like literally life-changing. It's really cool.
The first time that we're at the convention and he spoke up there, I remember some of the jokes that he said that were so funny. This guy is really good.
Well, my understanding was he built that really big. Obviously, he was on stage, but he was a stand-up comedian and a funny one, like clean and just funny. And I'm forgetting a lot of his stuff. And I bet on YouTube you could probably find some of that. But he's gone on to become an author and a speaker, and he's still funny because it's who he is. But some of his, remember The Greatest Salesman in the World on the scrolls and that stuff?
Yeah.
This has a similar feel to that.
Wow.
But it's written in a novel form, and I don't really want to describe it more than that because I don't want to take anything away from anybody. But it's cool.
So, sometimes when I meet people and I tell them some jokes or whatever, I tell 2 or 3, 4 jokes. They say, man, you ought to be a comedian. I says, well, I've done that. I says, oh, yeah? I says, yeah. They said, stand up. I says, well, I have to stand up because I'm so short that if I don't stand up, people won't see me. They always laugh at that.
Seriously, have you ever heard of a sit-down comic? Come on.
No, I know.
What's on your agenda today? Because I'm looking at the clock and Zoom is finished with us almost.
Well, I'm going to be picking up Terry up in a little while because she didn't stay at the house last night because she's at the hospital.
Oh.
Yeah, she's okay, but she had a crazy thing going on yesterday. It was amazing.
Glad she's okay. I will pray for her, and I'm glad you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah. So she's better. So I said to her, listen, what time you going to let you release it today? Because I'm going to be doing a podcast, but I can reschedule it. She goes, oh, no. Do that first. It's no big deal. They probably won't let me get up until about 11.
What you want to do is have the big screen TV on and this podcast all queued up so when she walks in the house, she